Hey, what's going on, GameLeapers? Coach Iggs back at it, and in today's video, 3 most broken champions for each role for 12-13. And there will be a bunch of changes hitting the Rift in 12-13, so to know, guys, who the best champs are going to be for each role, make sure you stick around for the whole video. And as always, if you want to master any of the champs in this video, make sure you check out the GameLeap website linked in the description and comment section, because our creators on our website are uploading so many videos a week that are all made by challenger players and coaches from around the world. They will 100% help you improve so you can hit your peak in Season 12 on the Rift, so check out those links and get signed up. Now let's get into the countdown, and we'll start by talking about the support role first. We're going to mix it up a bit here, and first of all, coming in at number 3, we have Senna, who is getting nerfed in 12-13, so a super strong champion at the moment, but she'll still be strong in 12-13, so even if your base HP is getting nerfed, even if your Q's base damage is getting nerfed in the early game, but it is dealing more damage at rank 5, so at level 9, and you'll still be maxing this first, and your W's brute duration is also getting nerfed by 1/4 of a second. So to be honest, because your Q's damage is actually going up, and you're still going to have amazing scaling because of your passive and the misrow stacks, this really isn't the biggest deal in the world for Senna. Now, Eclipse might be getting nerfed, so in terms of the range damage proc, this getting half to 3% of the max HP. But like I said in our top champions video, you might even consider going Dustblade, maybe Locket, maybe Kraken Slayer with a Ginsu's Rageblade. There are lots of other options for Senna, and she will still be good come 12-13. Now, number 2 for the support, we have Seraphine, and just like Senna, she's getting nerfed, and she actually has been nerfed already in 12-12B. So the nerfs, there was once your passive, scaling for a flat 7% of your AEP, instead of scaling from 6% to 9%. So this is going to impact you the later the game goes, and also your ECC duration, instead of being 1.5 seconds, they semi-reverted it to 1.25 seconds, so overall it's actually still quite a nice buff. And with Leandre's Anguish, Seraphine is still going to be one of the premier champions, let alone supports in the game, but she is bested by the number 1 support, of course, this being Renata. And for Renata in 12-13, no nerfs, which is excellent news, of course, well, for you Renata players out there, because the champion is so innately good. All of her abilities, her kit, doesn't really matter how many nerfs Riot throw at this champion, she is just such a great all-round support, works with pretty much any AD carry, so Renata Glass is number 1. Now let's stay in the bot lane and talk about the 3 best AD carries for 12-13, and coming in at number 3, we have one of those lethal tempo abusers, this being Kog'Maw. And ever since Riot semi-reverted his Bio-Arcane barrages on hit damage, Kog'Maw has been good again, because when they full-on nerfed it a few patches ago, Kog'Maw went from being the best AD carry to being complete trash, but now he's actually back among the best of them, because maxing your W first in a meta where it's durable, there's lots of tank champions running about with lots of HP, Kog'Maw, you shred them. So Kog is number 3, just be careful picking him if your support isn't one of those peeling supports or maybe enchantresses, because those supports for Kog'Maw can protect him so he can puke over the competition. Now the second best AD carry, to be honest, you could even put her number 1 because she's so good at the moment, this is Kalista, and a bit like some of the other champions on this countdown, because Kalista is not getting targeted in 12-13, this means she's going to continue to be strong. With lethal tempo, the buff a few patches ago to her movement speed, to her attack speed, it gives her scaling that she needs, and she's still so good in lane, if not the best laning AD carry at the moment. If we think about other champions who maybe should be good in lane, so Caitlyn, Miss Fortune, Ashe, these champions just don't compare to Kalista, and you're seeing her picked a heck of a lot even at the moment in pro play, because she is just so dominant. So if Kalista is open, a great AD carry to pick. But is she as good as the number 1 AD carry on this countdown, guys? This being Twitch, and because Zeri is getting nerfed in 12-13, Twitch is really just a standout in every single elo. So Kalista does so much better in higher elos because she does require a lot of mastery. It takes a lot of time to get used to her movement and how the champion works, but with Twitch it's quite simple. You just go invis and spray and pray. Now it might be a little bit more difficult than that, but whether you're playing Twitch in bronze, whether you're playing Twitch in diamond, the champion is just as successful. And because just like Kog'Maw, you can shred the HP bars at tanks, whether you're going Kraken Slayer, Blade of the Ruined King, you are destroying the meta at the moment, so Twitch is the number 1 AD carry. Now let's head to the mid lane, and the 3 best champions you can pick in the mid lane. Well, number 3, this is Kassadin, or Kassa-Win I should call it. And the reason Kassadin is just stomping at the moment, well, let's think about it. Durability meta, you're going to be hitting level 16 a lot more often, and why is this good for Kassadin? Well, because your Rift Walk will be on a 0-second cooldown. Well, not quite, but once you hit this point in the late game, is there a better level 16 champion? And even if you're like, but Everfrost got nerfed a couple of patches ago, like how can Kassadin be seriously good? Well, that's because you don't even have to go Everfrost. You can go Luden's Tempest and one-shot people, and trust me, you will, even if champions are tankier, or you can go Crown of the Shattered Queen, so you yourself are tankier. It's just a great patch for Kassadin, and because lots of mages are getting picked at the moment, because attack damage assassins in the mid lane, well, they're not really as good as they used to be, so Kassadin has a lot less to worry about, so he's the number 3 mid laner. Now, coming in at number 2 is a champion, well, to be honest, if you play mid lane, you have to have her in your champion pool, this being Ahri, because she is the best blind pick mid lane at the moment. She doesn't really have any hard counters and does well in any game. You have the potential to carry, to peel, to be a utility mid laner. You can do anything. The champion is just so versatile, and just like Kassadin, even if Everfrost got nerfed, the Glaciate route is still long enough to synergize with your own abilities, and because there are going to be no nerfs to Ahri in 12-13, she has to be number 2 on this countdown, but she is beaten to number 1 by one of the few attack damage champions in the mid lane who is having a lot of success, and this is Yone. Now, why is Yone having success? Well, let's think about Kassadin for a second. Late game champion in a durability meta. Let's think about Yone, late game champion in a durability meta. And because you have so much DPS in your kit, especially in the mid to late game, because your Q will be on a 1.33 second cooldown, you'll have Infinity Edge shield bow, and your kit as well with your E, it's so hard to deal with this champion. That's why in lower elos he's banned in so many games, because he's unbearable to play against. Even if you do stomp a Yone in the laning phase, he just has way more opportunity these days to get to that late game where he outscales pretty much every single champion, and then he takes over. So Yone is the number 1 mid laner for another patch. Now, as far as the junglers go, guys, for 12-13, we have some very interesting developments for the next patch, thanks to that Riot Games balance team. But number 3, kind of a standard pick here, this being Red Kayn, the Ras version. And the reason for Red Kayn being on this countdown, well, he's just so durable. Very, very hard to kill with Conqueror, with Gordrinker that got buffed a couple of patches ago in terms of the mythic passive, so more ability haste. And that is the most important stat for Red Kayn. The more you get of this, essentially the more sustain you have, the more damage output, the more DPS. Such a hard champion to deal with at the moment, and because he loves playing against tank champions who are better, because of the Balmy Cinder buff a couple of patches ago, and all the tank mythics getting more HP, Kayn is frothing it at the moment. You can still go Assassin Kayn, don't get me wrong, but Red Kayn statistically is just way more consistent. So Ras comes in at number 3. Now, number 2, this is a champion who is getting heavily nerfed, you can say, in terms of the actual number of nerfs in 12-13, this being Bel'Veth. But here's the thing, guys. When Riot buffed Bel'Veth's attack range to 175 from 125, honestly, it doesn't really matter what nerfs they might throw at the champion. And of course, with your damage reduction, which is going to be in the game in 12-13, who cares if your AD growth goes down? Who cares if your HP growth goes down? Who cares if your E cooldown is going to scale down to 16 seconds and not 14 seconds? Who cares if your lifesteal in your E is going to be a flat 20% at all ranks instead of scaling up to 26? Who cares if your bonus AD ratio and your ultimate is going down as well? The point here is that Bel'Veth still has what makes her strong at the moment in 12-13 as well. So this champion will still be pick or ban, and it's kind of a typical thing that Riot do. They don't actually address what makes the champion OP, so they completely gut her to the point where she'll probably have a 45% win rate in the next couple of patches. So if you are a Bel'Veth main, do be care of that. That's probably the pan that is actually going to happen. So if Bel'Veth is number 2, who on earth can be the best jungler in the game for 12-13? Well, this is a champion who is getting some very interesting buffs in 12-13, this being Master Yi. Now, I don't really care what Riot are doing to his W, guys, because listen to these 2 buffs for me. First of all, your attack range, your auto attack range, is increasing by 50, just like Bel'Veth's just did. So from 125 to 175, and also with your Alpha Strike, so your Q, you can choose the direction you want to appear relative to the target you're queuing. How absurd is that? That doesn't even really make any sense to me. Like, how is there going to be counterplay to a Yi when he's Alpha Striking into your backline? You don't know where he's going to appear, which is really the only counterplay you had. So I think this is going to cause a lot of terror in lower elos, maybe in particular, because Master Yi is such a terror in those elos. So let me know, guys, down below what you think of these Master Yi changes and any of the changes in 12-13. Now, as for top lane, guys, the last roll, of course, the top 3 champions will coming in at number 3 as a champion who's going to be affected by the Divine Sunderer changes in 12-13, this being Jax. So basically what's happening to Divine Sunderer is that you'll be dealing more damage to squishy champions, but less damage to tank champions. So in the top lane, this is going to matter, of course, because you're probably going to be going up against champions who have a lot of HP, especially because tanks are very strong at the moment. So Divine Sunderer is worse in terms of the 1v1 in the top lane. But here's the thing for Jax, you can kind of bypass this nerf a little bit because you can go Blade of the Ruined King, which is another tank shred item. So this means that for Jax, unlike maybe a Camille, you will be less affected by this nerf. And once you get Divine Sunderer, it's not like every champion in the game is going to have 5000 HP. It's still going to be relatively early game based. And at that point, champions will still be squishy, even in the top lane, and you will do more damage to them. So this is almost like a more snowbally early game oriented item than it was before. And it could even be better in 12-13. And any Jax mains, any top lane mains, what you think of the Divine Sunderer changes, again, let me know down below. Now, number 2, speaking of one of those champions who's very annoying to play against because of his HP, this is Tahm Kench. Kench, but Tahm Kench is getting nerfed. In fact, he's already nerfed in 12-12B, so the bonus magic damage in your passive, the ratio, scaling less off your HP, but it's still a buff from what it was before. So it was 2.5% before, now it's 3% of your bonus HP. So still an overall buff. And also they're nerfing your HP growth. So even though this is going down, you still have Balmy Cinder at 1,000 gold. So easy to buy. And then you have Frostfire Gauntlet, and of course your innate damage, tankiness. Tahm Kench will still be unbenched in 12-13, trust me. But the top laner who's going to beat everyone else, guys, maybe even the best champion on the Rift, even at the moment, this is going to continue to be Darius. And because this is a durability meta, think about Darius, hemorrhage stacks, his passive, the W being on a low cooldown, the Conqueror stacking, so hard to deal with in the top lane. Easily the best top laner, and that's in every rank as well. Even in Challenger, where players might be able to kite a little bit better and count his cooldowns better and punish him better, doesn't matter. The champion still has insane stats, and that's because he's just so damn broken. And for whatever reason, Riot aren't even targeting Darius in 12-13, so he's still going to carve up the top lane and the Rift for another patch or so. So Darius, #1 top laner, and those were, guys, the 3 best champions for each role for 12-13. If you did enjoy the video, remember to leave a like down below, and until our next Season 12 upload, this has been Coach...